Can y'all hear me okay? My name is Kenny Mancuso, and I'm a former United States Marine. For some time, a group of veterans had been talking amongst themselves and wondering why there wasn't a Veterans Memorial in Libby. A retired Marine major came into my shop one day and said, I think we should have one. In June of 2012, myself, Terry Andresen, Dennis Osborne, and Brent Teskey met the Antlers restaurant for our first meeting and decided it was time to have a monument. In July of 2012, we had our first official meeting. Larry and Terry Pitcher, Wes Huffman and Larry King came on board. We agreed the committee would be called the Lincoln County Veterans Memorial Foundation, and that memorial would represent all of Lincoln County, honor all U.S. veterans and U.S. military units. As time went on and meetings progressed, we established an executive board, an agreement with the local VFW post, as well as the American Legion, and most importantly, a monument design. After much debate with the city of Libby, this beautiful location was agreed upon. Local artist Todd Brigette was instrumental in transforming our idea into a vision that you see behind me that we could move forward with. What you see here is a culmination of many hours of meetings and debate. The 5 granite slabs, crafted by Idaho Granite Works, are embolized with the service emblems, the date which each branch was established, and the official motto for each of the 5 uniformed services. The names of Medal of Honor recipients for the entire state of Montana are placed under the branch in which they served. Atop the granite column is a life-size bronze statue sculptured by a local artist by the name of Scott Leonard. The statue has 3 themes. Number 1, the passing of the torch to defend our nation, our freedom, and the Constitution of the United States of America. This is symbolized by a serviceman in World War II era uniform and equipment assisting a serviceman of today's era. Never giving up, symbolized by the serviceman continuing to fight even though wounded. Number 3, never leaving anyone behind, symbolized by one serviceman pulling another out of harm's way. Continue the fight. Leave no one behind. You're going to have to excuse me if I choke up a little here. Surrounding the memorial are 5 granite benches. 4 of these represent donors who dug deep into their pockets to make this monument a reality. The final bench is engraved with the names of servicemen from Lincoln County who were killed in action and made the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. A monolith placed in front of the flagpole, which was donated by his wife Barbara in his honor, is dedicated to the memory of a truly remarkable patriot, veteran, prisoner of war, Mr. Harry Tripp, who was a true American hero. And last, but by no means least, hundreds of mini memorials etched in bricks that circle the monument. These heartfelt dedications to veterans, military units, from veterans' families, friends, and comrades are a lasting message to tribute to veterans from Lincoln County, the state of Montana, and the United States of America. In just over 2 years, the memorial went from an idea to what you see here. This would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of many, as well as the gracious donations received. To date, we have received approximately $150,000, so thank you all. This memorial is perpetual and will continue to grow as more bricks are purchased and placed honoring the men and women who protect our great nation. The Lincoln County Veterans Memorial is dedicated to all past, present, and future veterans, their families, all who made this possible. God bless this memorial and those who serve. Thank you for making the Lincoln County Veterans Memorial a reality. Before I close, there's a few other things I would like to add in. Can you still hear me okay, folks? The committee would like to mention and recognize a few people that went the extra mile for this cause. Scott Leonard, who designed this beautiful monument and sculpted it for us. Doug Adams, who laid the bricks you see around the monument. Ron Miller for his electrical work for the lights. Montana Machines. Jack's Waterworks. Todd Burgett, who initially drew the initial picture. Frank Voltopka, sorry about that. Heather McDougall, Chuck Riley, Granite Concrete, Terry and Carol Audewalt, Robin Benson. Robin got a lot of grants from people we never thought we could get government money from, but she did well. Thank you, Robin. Jim Ray, General Contractors, and Ellen Olson. I would also like to give a special thanks and recognition to Larry and Terry Pitcher for the hard work they've done in organizing the bricks, getting them engraved, calling people up to make sure that everything was right, and making sure that it was an honor to have these bricks laid in the ground. I would also like to recognize Brent Teskey for his diligent work and extra work of finding the granite, going to the granite company to have these slabs. He made endless trips back and forth, did extra work, more work than probably any of us did other than Larry and Terry. And last but not least, Mr. Terry Andresen, who relentlessly worked to get donations from everybody he could to make this a happening. Thank you, Terry. Before I turn the podium over to Mr. Andresen, I'd like to read you all something if it's okay. I hope you don't mind. What is a veteran? Whether active duty, retired, National Guard, or reserve, is somewhere who at one point in his life, wrote a blank check payable to the United States of America for an amount of, up to, and including their life. That is honor, and there are way too many people in this country who no longer understand that. God bless America, and thank you all for coming.
Well, I'm not a speaker today, but I just got a few things I'd like to say. Isn't that bronze magnificent? Scott Leonard, please stand. This is the man. So much work and effort went into this by so many people. We are so proud of this community. The monument belongs to you, the people of Lincoln County, so treasure it. This is an emotional day for most of us. It is even more so for me, as I have two men that I fought beside in Vietnam. In 1969, They're here today to help us celebrate our dedication. They are the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. I can confirm that they are true American heroes. All the way from De Pere, Wisconsin, Chuck Landwehr, please stand. Better known to us as Doc, he was our medic. With him from St. Louis, Missouri, Tom Ludy. Tom walked point for us. That was not an individual job. Thank you guys so much for coming so far to help us celebrate this dedication. Their bricks are here with ours. I love you guys. I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate when it comes to veterans and what so many have sacrificed for this country. Even as we learn of the poor treatment many have received at VA hospitals across the country, how can this happen? As the Prime Minister of Great Britain once said, there are only two people who have ever offered to die for you. Jesus Christ for your soul, and the American soldier for your freedom. In any war, if you were a combat veteran, you had to do some horrible things to survive. Things that many of us could never forget. Unfortunately, many of those demons never leave. Not only have veterans of any war sacrificed their lives, many lost parts of their bodies, many lost parts of their souls. We can only take comfort in John 15, verse 13, the King James Version, where the Bible says, and I quote, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend." I received an email from a good friend of mine, Dr. Jay Maloney, a few years ago, with these unbelievable words regarding war. Quote, "The day is hardest on the ones who felt the warmth of their blood as their hearts stopped. Only our survivors can fully comprehend the significance of their great sacrifice. We owe an unpayable debt to all our veterans. Be grateful we live in a nation where there are so many willing to sacrifice so much to keep us free. Be proud of our veterans. Be proud to be an American. God bless all our veterans, and especially those who gave so much during World War II. Our greatest generation." Thank you.
Thank you, Terry and Candy. Our next speaker is our County Commissioner, Tony Brigette. Tony?
How do I follow that? That was nice, Terry. Throughout American history, there have been more than 1,300,000 men and women that have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. We stagger that at the eternal debt we owe to the untold number of American veterans who chose to set aside their personal ambitions and dreams to assure the well-being of our great nation. I struggled with what to say. It comes down to this. Thank you. Thank you to the men and women that didn't return. Thank you to their families. Thank you to the men and women that have returned and served. Thank you to all the families that have seen their loved ones answer the call of our nation. I would also like to thank all the wonderful people that have made this beautiful memorial possible. It's this community's way of putting a personal touch on our thank you.
Our next speaker will be the Senior Vice Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Dean House. Dean House. It's an honor for me to be here today. I would like to thank the citizens, the businesses, the veterans organizations of Lincoln County for their donations and their dedication to spirit to honor all branches of the United States military. Thank you to all who worked on this memorial from its beginning to the dedication today. It's something you can all be proud of. Across this great country and throughout the world, Americans pause today to honor our brave fighting men and women who for more than 230 years have underwritten our freedom by their duty, their honor, and their selfless service. We recognize that all veterans have given something of themselves in this country, and some have given all, laying down their lives to defend the freedoms we hold so dear today. This dedication ceremony this evening is a time to set apart a particular place in order to honor and memorialize all veterans of the United States military who served in our country in times of war and in times of peace. As you look around this memorial, you'll see many textures, including granite, large boulders, bronze, bricks, concrete, and grass. Each of these textures offers its own particular component to this monument. The granite, with its unyielding firmness, these boulders that surround the park with strength and determination. The reinforced concrete, with its ruggedness, and the grass that adds a softness that tends to surround the power generating from this place. All of these characteristics is said of the American soldier: an unyielding firmness and endurance to the end of the mission, a firm strength of steadfastness, a ruggedness to finish the mission as assigned. But along comes the softness, like this grass, to realize that there are moments of command, sympathy, sensitivity to our brothers and sisters when battles get overwhelming. The bronze shows the support of veterans, helping veterans, young or old, and to never leave anyone behind in the battlefields far away or the battles that they endure here at home. The POW MIA flag represents those who were prisoners of war and those that are still missing. And the American flag flies above it all, represents our freedom. There is a closeness we can all feel at this sacred place. Whether you're related to someone whose name will be placed here or not, all of you can share this kinship in being an American citizen. We are surrounded by the spirits of those who served our country and those that have sacrificed so much for the freedom that we enjoy here today. I encourage the students that are here today to visit this memorial often. As free Americans, it belongs to you too. Here you will find the true heroes of places you have learned or will learn about in your history books. Fierce battles were fought in places like Shiloh, Gettysburg, San Juan Hill, the trenches in France, the beaches of Normandy, Tarawa, Pearl Harbor, the cane fields of the Philippines, the mountains of Korea, the rivers and the rice paddies of Vietnam. All of the new battles like Panama, Somalia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. When you study those places, think of this place. And remember the men and women who have fought and died in these places. I encourage the students to preserve this place for the generations to come. View it as a sacred place, that it is. It's important that we must also thank our families. They also sacrificed hard times, faced long separations, multiple deployments, lowered incomes, one parent doing the work of two. That's just to name a few. So I encourage everybody to come sit or just walk around this monument to consume the spirit of this place and soak in the sacredness of it.
Our liberties and our values stand safe here today because of our brave men and women who are ready to face the fire. We thank God for each and every one of them. God bless you. God bless the United States military. God bless America. Thank you.
Our next and final speaker has come all the way from Maryland to speak with us today, which I think is very great. So without further ado, I'll hand the mic over to former U.S. Senator and a proud Marine, Comrade Burns.
Thank you very much. This is a cheap way out of a speech. He stole all of my words, so I'll just say it's nice to be here. Can all of you folks hear me back there, and can you see me? Well, there's some people up here who'd like to change seats with you. It's that time when we dedicate something to the spirit of a community. When they asked me to come up here, I said, nobody's going to travel further and enjoy it more than I did this trip. It's a long way from Billings to here. And the cheapest way we had to do it was to hitchhike. My wife wouldn't do that, so I drove up. I just let her hold the wheel. The lady that's put up with this stuff all this time is here somewhere. Phyllis, where are you? Stand up. Where'd she go? Oh, hi. That lady is, I tell you, you talking about people that's been through some battles and got the scars, go talk to her. It's wonderful to be invited to something like this. I can remember when I was in college at the University of Missouri, and that was in 1951, in the early part of Korea, and you had to have a certain grade point average to stay out of the draft. Well, I was going to get drafted. Gives you some clue there how smart I am. And so I went down and joined the United States Marine Corps. Do or die, devil dog. But I will tell you, and I see young people who've never served, and they've missed something in their life. Even though we have veterans that didn't make it home, and friends that didn't make it home, it was an experience that only God can give you as a citizen of this great country. You know, I got to travel a lot. And I like to talk about history. And you want to learn your history because it is the blueprint to the future. And of course, part of that history is what this country has gone through just to survive. A young man was up before a committee that I had appointed for him to be in one of the military academies. And through the question and answer time, one on the committee, who's a great friend, he looked at that young man and he said, what happened at Valley Forge? And this young man's eyes glazed over and he started to shake. And he said, I don't know. Now, with a grade point average and wonderful personality and the ability to learn, nobody could top that. But he had never been taught what happened at Valley Forge. So I would tell you that not only is this monument that's put on our rear be a reminder to us, but let it also stand for maybe people who would teach history in our high schools. And it may not be important as shooting off a rocket or going into space, but nonetheless, when you I traveled, I've been in three areas where there's spatial to me. I stood on top of Sarabachi on Iwo Jima, and as old trade winds, warm as they were, and the palm trees just swaying with the winds, and you looked there across that atoll, and you know something happened that is bigger than all of us. We had a Medal of Honor winner there from Montana, who was Jack Rule from down in Columbus, Montana. When we built the new reserve building in Billings, the general called up from New Orleans and he said, "Senator, we want to put your name on that building." I said, "No, let's think this thing through. I don't think that's a very good idea." He said, "Yeah, but you were in the service." I said, "I know. I was in the Marine Corps. I was on Iwo Jima. He gave his life. I did not. And I can't match his record, so it's going to be the Jack Rule building." And that's the way it's supposed to be. The second place, if you can come over there from the second place I visited with some feeling of really importance, and walk the sands of Omaha Beach in northern Normandy. And then you walk up those sand dunes to the level of all those crosses, 7,500 American men died in one day right there on the landing of Europe to stop the most evil man that we've ever known. Then we'll go to the third place. Something maybe in Montana we don't listen to enough or learn enough about, and that was at Gettysburg. It's hard to believe, but 50,000 Americans died. Americans shooting Americans, and in that place, the Civil War, when both thought they were right. And if you ever want to read something very inspirational, go to your library and get the second inaugural address of Abraham Lincoln, and that will mean more to you. Then I'll have to mention also Gettysburg, and then you drive down the road 35 miles, and that's all, to a place called Antietam. And there was 38,000 died in one afternoon. Again, Americans shooting Americans. But we must not forget those folks either. All this behind us. Then you go to Washington, D.C., you see the wall of the Vietnam people we lost from the Vietnam. I got to visit Vietnam. Then I went back and visited Korea where I was. I wasn't there very long because they sent us up there to the Chinese had built tunnels under the 38th parallel. So we took 105 houses up there and closed them.
Amen.
And the other side got cranky about it. I said, "We're just kind of doing what we're told. Don't shoot us." But they did. But when you travel that much and see those things, how could you walk through the sands of Normandy and not come away being overwhelmed about what happened there? We have a young lady here today whose husband survived Bataan Death March. Right there, and she brought that, and she put up this flag back here that carries Old Glory. I would tell you that Ben Steele in Billings, Montana, also and did that. And I saw him the other day. I said, "How do you get along, Ben?" He said, well, I finally made up my mind I don't want to do it again. But there's never a disparaging word. And they carry the spirit and sometimes the humor of what America really stands for. And to sit down and talk to them. And it is unbelievable that you leave with a spirit that is hard to live down. I want to thank you for asking me today. It's getting a little cool, and I don't want you to sit out here. You know, we had a president sit down in the rain, made a speech one time, and by guys caught a cold and died. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to visit with each other and talk to the men who want to preserve history and make it live before us, all the way from V.S. Valley Forge and through the Civil War, the Second World War. I'll tell you why I joined the Marine Corps. I can remember when the first loss in our community. I was raised in a little community in Missouri. And when we lost somebody out of our neighborhood, our parents took us to the funeral. And it wasn't, well, maybe I want to go. Ain't no maybe about it. We're going. And so you can remember those times, the loss, the families, and the neighbors going to those funerals. And then we had two neighbor boys that were Marines. One was wounded bad at Tarawa. He had survived Saipan and got beat up on Tarawa. So I was going to be a Marine. After 2 days of boot camp, I thought, boy, you made